From the Masai Mara in Kenya and the Greater Kruger National Park in South Africa, 5 expert safari guides that live and work in the bush 365 days a year follow a cast of compelling animal characters and document the stories that define their lives. Previously, on the Cat Report, the woodlands of Djuma are home to a pride of powerful buffalo hunting lions, the Nkuhumas, with many of their number sired by the Birmingham Boys, a formidable coalition of dominant males. But there are new boys in town. The social dynamics between the Duke, Queen, Prince and Princess of the Royal Leopards of Djuma have continued to surprise us in the way they counter the societal norms expected of leopards. In the Masai Mara, the North Clan of Hyena have had their ranks reinforced with the arrival of matriarch Waffles' twin cubs. But who will succeed her? And the lions of the Mara have enjoyed a period of gluttony with the migrating herds in town. But survival is always about more than food.
Hello and welcome back to the Cat Report. This afternoon we find ourselves in the company of 3 young bloods called the Avoca Boys. As is their wont, they recently stole a waterbuck meal from the Nkuhuma Pride. Now, if you haven't met the Avoca Boys before, this is all 3 of the lads. From their looks, I think they're probably about 4 years old, and it's pretty early on for them to have taken a territory. The erstwhile owners of this prime piece of African pride land, the 4 Birmingham boys, seem to have moved south, and these, well, shall we call them young millennial hipsters, have moved in. They haven't had to fight for their land at all. They've just kind of set up and started roaring. Nobody came to chase them away, so they thought, well, I suppose we'll just hang around then.
For the last 3 years, these lands have been home to a fearsome coalition of lions. The Birmingham Boys. Nsuku, Nena, Mfumo, Tino. The Birmingham Boys are a warrior coalition, and despite the odd internal spat over mating rights, they remain tightly bonded. Under their protection, the Nkuhuma Pride has enjoyed sanctuary from marauding males, and the pride has grown in strength and number. Through courtship, mating and protection, the Birminghams have ensured a genetic legacy with the famous Nkuhumas. Six of their offspring, 5 young lionesses and a male, now bolster the pride. While parenting has fallen almost exclusively to the lionesses, the cubs would never have enjoyed their carefree upbringing without the Birmingham's ferocious defence of their boundaries. But recently, the erstwhile protectors of these pride lands have expanded to the south. Enter the 3 young Avoca males, by rights too young to take a territory, but extremely fortunate to stumble across an unprotected area of prime lion real estate. Soon, they roared their claim. The Birminghams have yet to challenge the young pretenders. Now, the new rulers must negotiate a peace with the Nkuhumas, while the Pride must make sure their youngest remains safe.
Oh, now this is very interesting. Someone else is here. In fact, they've probably been here all day long. I thought it a little bit strange that the Nkuhumas weren't around when we arrived. Now, this is pretty interesting because it means they weren't put to flight. Definitely chased off the kill, but they certainly don't seem to feel the same level of threat as they did a little while back when these three young chaps first arrived. Let's go off and have a better look. Perhaps the rest of the 11 are lurking somewhere in the shade. We've got one lioness in front of us. One walking away and one here. But I don't see the rest of the Pride. We'll do a quick loop around there while you go back to the Masai Mara, where Brent is with some lions who've not yet caught their dinner.
Welcome to the Mara. Two lionesses have joined up and they are still heading towards the herds. Now, not far away, there are lots of wildebeest which lions like to eat. It's one of their favorite foods, especially at this time of the year. You hear all the snorting from the wildebeest. Zebra snorting as well. Lapwings complaining. So I think they're actually using this tactic. They're just walking into masses of animals looking for a bit of weakness. At the moment, they haven't found any. Oh, so tiring being snorted at. And the direction she's looking at the moment, there's some really big groups and a little bit more cover. There's some little caper bushes. We've been joined by a third lioness. As I say, I'm still trying to figure out exactly which pride this is. I'm not 100% sure. Very interesting, the lion dynamics at the moment, the constant flux, really keeping us on our toes. There's that Thompson's gazelle who's walking past the edge of the lions, snorting away at him. A very high-pitched, funny little snort that Tommies have. Lots and lots of food about. They didn't catch anything yesterday or this morning, so I'm hoping tonight is the night. But while we wait it out a bit longer, let's send you to Jamie, who's with the North Clan.
Ferguson Farms, son of the matriarch, is at it. Now, this is basically how hyenas hunt in this weather. He's going to run backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, and he might lose interest or he might not. But essentially what he's hoping is that one of the antelope or the zebra is going to panic, slip and fall. He's looking around because some backup would be very useful in this whole process. He's taking us into essentially a swamp, so I don't know how far we can follow him. But I've been dying to show you the hunting technique because chances are he's not going to be successful, but you just never know. And neither does he. And already he's causing panic. He's getting zebra to run away from him. He's outpaced me, so you can understand what it's like trying to follow. Now imagine trying to do this at night, in the dark, and you get an idea of what we've been up to for the last 4 months.
Now, what we've got here is a lioness of the Nkuhuma Pride now staring down the males. We've been driving around seeing if the rest of the Pride is here. They are not. So it's just the two lionesses here at the moment. And those males have spotted them and they're looking this way. Now, whether they will decide to come up here and investigate is anyone's guess. Quite a nice little standoff we've got going here. And who knows if this is the first meeting that they've had. So it's not like they won't fight with males, but they'll be very careful of them, especially if they've got sub-adults with them. The other lioness has also lifted her head now. She was looking a bit sleepy. She's still looking towards them now. there could be two reasons for this. One, they're hungry. That's the most obvious reason. The other is, of course, that there's still a negotiated settlement to be made here between the Evokers and the Nkuhuma Pride. But one of those Evokers is very interested. He's not interested enough to get up here and come and say, hello, what's going on? But one wonders if it's just teenage nerves, perhaps. He's seen a lady through the grass and thinking to himself, oh, I'd like to go and say hello, but I don't know what I'd say, you know. I mean, Amber Eyes, if that is her, is an intimidating lioness.
Djuma's woodlands are the central hunting grounds of the indomitable Nkuhumas. The core of the pride is 5 lionesses. 6 sub-adults reinforce their ranks. The most recognizable lioness is a stocky 5-year-old called Amber Eyes, named for the burnt orange of her piercing gaze. This famous pride has survived tremendous upheaval in the last few years. 2 male coalition takeovers, a severe drought, and crippling disease. Amber Eyes has weathered all of the storms. Yet her story is tinged with sadness. Amber Eyes remains without surviving offspring. Last year, she gave birth to a single cub, but as is the fate for so many young in the wild, the vulnerable little thing vanished soon after we met her. More recently, Amber Eyes carried another 2 cubs to term. This time, hyenas discovered her den just after the babies were introduced to the pride. The arrival of the Evoker boys brought yet more disruption. For months, the lionesses protected the sub-adults from the new males. Now things have settled, and perhaps this beautiful amber-eyed lioness will finally see her lineage extended.
Well, that's pretty fascinating stuff. I think we're going to go around and see if we can get another look at those 3 Evokers. In the meantime, let's head back up to Brent and his lions in the Masai Mara.
Welcome back. We are still sitting with these lions, which I believe are some of the members of the Owino Pride. The wildebeest are edging closer and closer to the big cats from multiple directions. And I'm just wondering if being on top of the termite mound is not the best spot at this very moment. It's quite easy to spot her from there. And it's quite strange because the wildebeest spotted them earlier and snorted, and they seem to have forgotten that the lions are right there. There's an ellie behind there, some elephants behind as well. Lots of game around us. You can hear some zebra calling in the distance. Wind is coming from the wildebeest to them, so in their favor. And so they are quite exposed where they are at the moment. We'll just see what happens. And they have not moved a muscle. And the wildebeest are getting closer and closer. They're now probably about 30 meters away. And those lions have turned into proper rocks. I think she knows if she keeps dead still, the wildebeest are not going to pick her up. And there's some water right next to us, so they might come down for a drink, which would put them very much within grasp of the lions. Oh, I think they might have just been spotted. Female moving on the top, trying to get down the termite mound. No, I think they've been spotted by the ones off to the left. But you never know what happens. Okay, well, we're going to slightly move the car now that they've been spotted. In the meantime, let's send you back to Jamie.
There we go. Here he is. Oh, look what you found yourself. A victim of the migration. Probably an old hyena meal, actually, with where it is. Of course, this is where hyenas come in extraordinarily useful in an ecosystem such as this, particularly during the migration. Lions have a tendency to kill and leave, especially when they are full, and hyenas are usually the cleanup crew. They'll come through, along with the vultures, of course, and they will finish off what they can. They're still hunting during the migration, but you'll probably find that they are hunting less than they might otherwise. Eternal enemies, lion and hyena. Outnumbered, the Owino females had little chance against the tide of hungry North Clan members that descended on their zebra kill early one morning. But the lionesses were not so easily dismissed, and they remained nearby to watch and wait, until opportunity to seize back their prize presented itself. Sending the disassembled ranks of hyenas scattering with a feline warning, the lions quickly returned to glean some remains from their pillaged kill, but constantly under the ominous stare of their displaced opponents. Indeed, a game of cat and mouse between Mara's most powerful super predators. Guess who showed up to the party that far away from Waffles' natal den? And she's come to investigate what her son is up to. Waffles is hungry. She's been at the den. She really has been a phenomenally dedicated mother. She must spend 20-odd hours, possibly even more, with those tiny cubs, or at least in close proximity to them, keeping them safe, protecting them from harm in as much as she can. But even she, as a fantastic mother, has to leave the den at some point because she's got to eat and she's got to keep herself nourished. The day we had been waiting for from the moment we discovered Waffles' cubs had finally arrived. At 5 weeks old, the Wafflets were full of youthful energy and kept themselves occupied by climbing their mother, wrestling each other, or wrestling each other while climbing their mother. Wrinkled and completely uncoordinated, they are already starting to show distinctive personalities. The tatty-eared cub is the bolder of the two, and it was quite happy to wander off, as long-suffering Waffles trailed behind to make sure it was safe. The round-eared cub, clearly the more dominant, is actually more reserved and was reluctant to leave the safety of the den entrance. It dashed between the two holes before looking around for Mum, anxiety written all over its tiny face. Eventually, the absence of Waffles and its sibling coaxed it back out into the open to join them. A hyena den visit wouldn't be complete without a game of tug-of-war, and the tatty-eared cub kindly obliged us with a demonstration on a stick. Waffles, an experienced and loving mother, rounded off a wonderful morning by flopping down with her cubs. Well, just personally, I happen to find Waffles quite expressive as hyenas go, but that might, of course, entirely be a product of my anthropomorphizing her and the rest of her clan. She's lucky, though, in that as the highest-ranked member of North Clan, she can pretty much shoulder charge her way into every meal and get the best of it, even if she didn't participate in the whole process of catching it.
One of the lionesses is using the drain to sneak up on an unsuspecting wildebeest up ahead. She's not too far off now. You can see the one very close to the road. I'm just going to move forward slightly. Just want to make sure we're in the best possible spot. Look at that, she's creeping. She's getting very, very close. You can see how her body language is changing. She's going to start moving slower now. Look at her, she's getting herself into position. The second lioness has just moved just in front of us. It's doing the same thing. Oh, there's another lion that's popped up right next to us. There we go. Our friend who was sneaking right next to the car has decided to move on. But this second lioness that's walking out in the open she might get spotted. We spend a lot of times with these prides, and they seem to be more relaxed around our filming vehicles because we can often spend 10, 12 hours at a time with the pride, so they've got used to us. There she is there. And the wildebeest seems to be moving away from her slightly. I think she might have seen a wounded wildebeest, or she's testing for an injury. Sometimes during the migration, they will do that because there's just so much around that there might just be one who's got a little limp or is just not quite as fit or fast, or could be old. Now, I'm wondering if these lions are part of a much bigger pride, where the rest of the pride is. There you go. So she's still walking up. Now watch this, they're all going to run past her. Now she's going to just watch. You never know, she might suddenly see something that catches her interest. The other ones that are behind are contact calling. So trying to find the rest of the pride. What happens during the migration, because there's so much food, often they'll have multiple kills and they'll get split up over the night, and they'll just sort of be lazy and flop down where they are during the day. And now, as we get closer to darkness, they'll start calling and trying to reconnect. So I'm going to keep following these lions. I'm going to try to get ourselves into a good position, closer to where they are. While we do that, let's send you back to James.
Anyway, there are the new kings eating away. You can see that they have been eating for some time, and you can tell that from the one that the one you can see at the back there, just from the way that he's obviously breathing so heavily. Then, of course, they're not the only meat eaters. If we look around in the trees, there are a lot of vultures. And the closest vulture is a hooded vulture, the bottom end of vulture society. And although it might be sitting there thinking I'm quite brave sitting close to the lions, as soon as the lions depart, the big white-backed vultures all around here are going to come in and chase away the hooded vulture. And the hooded vulture's got that hooked small beak, because it can then take advantage of the bits of meat that the bigger-beaked white-backed vultures are unable to. But they will have to wait until the whitebacks are done, or be very careful lest they get pecked. Alrighty, Tristan is also out this evening. He's with a cat, in my opinion, much more regal and less gangster than these lions.
Indeed, we are very spoilt because we found two of my favorite leopards, Thandi and her little cub, Kalamba. And she's just trotting off. She's about almost a year old now, so she's getting bigger. Really is special to see these two, so I'm hoping that they have a kill here somewhere. And Thandi is going to then feed her little one, and it's very cool to see them. We've known this little cub from when she was about this big, when she was very, very small. That's how long we've been following her. Now, our little one in front is very busy. She's always moving around. And the way that they're walking means that they're going somewhere. She's on a real mission. Ah, there we go, look at that. You can see they've actually got a carcass here, and Thandi has taken Kalamba to a meal. No wonder she's so excited. So I think she's going to hoist it. There she goes, look at that, look at that. Isn't that incredible? And up it is to safety. Well done, Thandi. Little Kalamba, who's looking up at the tree, and I wonder if she's going to try and go up. Now let's see what Mom does. Hosana definitely could learn a thing or two from Miss Thandi, because we know that our favorite cat, as much as he is very good at many things, he is not the best when it comes to being agile, is probably the best word for it. He'll get there eventually. He's still young, he'll learn. Tandi's had 12 years of practice, and poor Hosana has only had 2. Navigating trees is an essential tool in a leopard's trade, a skill that needs to be mastered through the school of hard knocks. Young Hosana, in particular, has kept us entertained with his sometimes cumbersome clown-like approach to climbing. Yet sometimes remarkably agile in his executions. Forced to figure it out by himself from a young age, the little chief has a unique style, but one that sees him conquering the heights like every leopard must. Well, the little chief certainly does keep us entertained with his arboreal antics, and while it's a joy to watch, he and his little half-sister Kalamba certainly do have a lot to learn if they are to master the art of being a successful leopard that uses trees not only for safety, but to stash their food. But of course, Kalamba is going to be a typical cub and is going to move it around, and Mom, I think, will be very upset if this falls down, because she'll have to repeat this whole process again. She is another story, this little cat. Good power, though. I mean, she lifted that whole carcass and was able to actually pick it up, which was quite amazing. And I wonder if there isn't something inside there that she's trying to chase. It could be something like a squirrel, and so maybe that's what's kind of in there and why she's sort of trying to peer inside the hole. Isn't it amazing to think when we first saw her, she was this kind of tiny little fluff ball that couldn't do anything, and now she's carrying carcasses around a tree. It's crazy what happens in just under a year and how much she's kind of grown since then. Little Kalamba certainly does have a lot of growing up still to do and a lot of adventures ahead of her in her life. While we kind of dwell on that, let's sit here and spend the last precious moments with Mom and Cub as the sun begins to set.
This seems about the right time to close off this edition of the Cat Report. The woodlands of Djuma have 3 new rulers. The Avoca Boys are stamping their authority. The younger royal leopards grow in strength and comedic value. And in the Mara, the Owino Pride and North Clan continue to gorge themselves on the migration. We'll see you again next time for more exciting adventures with Africa's favourite cat characters.